Hello, my name is Dane Tate, and today I will be presenting on what I do for work, which is probe card repair. So, did you know that everything from your smartphone to your laptop to your car and even your toaster rely on a small piece of technology called a semiconductor or a microchip that's tested using a tool that's smaller than a strand of your hair? Today, I'm going to explain what a probe card repair specialist does and why it's a critical job in the high tech world of semiconductor manufacturing. Every device you depend on, like I said, from phones to cars and medical devices, rely on semiconductors. And those semiconductors are tested using probe cards. If those probe cards aren't working properly, bad chips could slip through the cracks or good chips could be wasted, which could result in wasted time, wasted money, and consumers possibly getting faulty products. So, what do semiconductors do? Very basically, semiconductors are materials like silicon that can control electrical currents. And we combine silicon with other electrical semiconductor materials to create different kinds of modern electronics like processors and memory chips, which are, like I've said previously, are used in everything. They enable everything from phone calls to internet browsing to self-driving cars. They're in airplanes and they're in power strips, they're in coffee machines, and they're in watches. They're everywhere you look. Um, so after those chips are manufactured on a silicon wafer, which looks like this, um, then they need to be tested before they're cut out and packaged, which then looks like this when they're sold. That process is called wafer probing. And that's where the probe cards come in, and that's where my sort of job comes in. So a probe card is a custom made interface that connects the tester, which is just a big bunch of boards and relays and switches that sends electrical current through the probe card into the microchip itself, onto these tiny pads here that are called bond pads. Um, and so the needles on the ends of these probe cards here are anywhere from 0.0028 0.003 inches thick or less, which, like I said earlier, a human hair is 0.004 to 0.006 inches, so they're quite a bit smaller than a human hair. And they're very strong. They're able to push through this oxidized material here and make a good dent in it. And that enables good electrical current to roll through to make sure that the chip does what it's supposed to do. Um, and so when a probe card gets damaged, which happens often, I'm the one that repairs and recalibrates them. And so they get damaged by a multitude of things. People, if your finger brushes over them, they'll break. Sometimes they just break by clipping random things or just from the stress of using them. Um, there can also be debris or residue that builds up on the tips of the probes, and so that will cause a test to not work as well, which will cause chips to fail when they don't necessarily need to be. And over time, repeated use will wear down the tips, so they have to be replaced. And so the types of repair that I do on a day-to-day basis are pin alignment, which is where I use a very fine tipped pair of these tweezers and grab each of these individual probes and manipulate them to where they need to go, under a high powered microscope. I can also I clean them with different kinds of sandpapers and other cleaning materials like tungsten. And then also if they come undone from their spot, I can solder them back down as well. And so I mainly use tweezers and then soldering pens and other types of kind of related tools. And so why is it important? Um, if a probe card doesn't function properly, bad chips can be mislabeled as good and shipped to consumers, which could mean that a phone dies after a week or a car sensor that will fail, which we definitely don't want to have happen. So, and in this industries like aerospace and healthcare, one faulty chip can cause serious problems. So our work makes sure that only reliable chips make it out of the factory and into the hands of our consumers. Um, And so one of the things that a lot of my coworkers and my people that I work with say is if a chip isn't tested right, it could fail in your hands, which that's kind of the main thing that I'm here to make sure it doesn't happen, is that something doesn't work right when you take it out of the box and it works when you expect it to work. So to sum up, semiconductors power everything in our lives, and probe cards test those semiconductors to make sure they work. And I make sure those probe cards are in top shape so that bad chips don't make it out of the factory and into your hands. So yeah, thank you.